She held the scissors like a weapon, my sister laughing while my little girl begged her to stop. The other children pinned Emma's arms down. And I was downstairs, trusting family to be family. I can still hear her screams echoing through that house, the sound that changed everything. That moment haunts me still, but the horror didn't end there. What came next would test every ounce of strength I thought I had. My name is Major Rebecca Sullivan. I'm 36 years old, an army officer who's led soldiers through hostile territory, who's earned commendations for keeping my unit alive when the odds were against us. I'm also a single mother to the most precious soul I've ever known. My daughter Emma turned 8 last month. She has this way of seeing beauty in everything, collecting seashells even from parking lots, writing stories about brave princesses who save kingdoms with kindness instead of swords. Until that terrible Saturday, she treasured her long golden hair more than anything else in the world. She'd been growing it since she was 4, when she first saw that movie about the princess with magical hair. Every night she'd sit on her little purple stool while I brushed it, counting out loud to 100 strokes just like in her favorite storybook. People at school called her Sunshine because of how her hair caught the light when she ran across the playground. She'd flip it over her shoulder when she was excited about something, which was often because Emma found joy in the smallest things. I remember the morning she discovered she could finally sit on her hair. She ran into my room at dawn, bouncing on my bed, shouting that she was a real princess now. Such a small thing, hair. But to a little girl who'd watched her parents' marriage crumble, who'd said goodbye to her father more times than any child should have to, that hair was something she could control, something beautiful that was entirely hers. Emma's father, Michael, and I divorced 4 years ago. The marriage had been dying long before that, suffocated by deployments and distance, and the growing realization that we'd become strangers sharing a house. He took a promotion that moved him to Portland, sends his child support on time, video calls every Sunday at 7 sharp. We're polite for Emma's sake, though the conversations are stilted and formal, like actors reading lines we've memorized but don't believe. Emma misses having him close. She keeps a photo of the 3 of us from happier times on her nightstand, back when we still thought love could survive anything. She's never said it out loud, but I know she blames herself sometimes the way children do, thinking if she'd been better behaved or gotten better grades, maybe Daddy would have stayed. I've told her 1,000 times it wasn't her fault, but 8-year-old hearts don't always listen to logic. My younger sister Lauren just turned 33 this past spring. 3 years younger than me, but she's been competing since the day she could walk. When I got straight A's, she accused me of making her look bad. When I received my ROTC scholarship, she told everyone I was trying to be a man. When I got my commission, she said I was abandoning my femininity for a uniform. When I came home from my first deployment, she asked if I'd killed any babies over there. But the real venom started when Emma was born. Lauren had been trying to conceive for 2 years at that point, spending fortune after fortune on treatments that failed. The day I announced my pregnancy, she didn't speak to me for 3 months. When she finally did, it was to say that God gives babies to people who deserve them. And maybe there was a reason she hadn't been blessed yet while I'd gotten pregnant by accident. She lost her position at Pinnacle Marketing Group last month. Something about mishandled client funds and falsified expense reports. Though if you ask her, she was the victim of a jealous supervisor who couldn't stand her success. Lauren always had a story where someone else was to blame. The world was always conspiring against her brilliance. My mother, Helen, has protected Lauren since the day she emerged from the womb. If Lauren broke something, it was poorly made. If Lauren stole from my room, I should learn to share better. If Lauren spread rumors about me in high school, I must have done something to deserve it. When Lauren had an affair with her best friend's husband, Mom said the friend should have paid more attention to her man. My father, Robert, bless his well-meaning heart, just wanted peace. He spent most of my childhood in his workshop, building furniture and birdhouses, anything to avoid the sound of raised voices. He'd emerge for dinner, make small talk about the weather, then disappear again. His silence was its own kind of abandonment, though I don't think he ever saw it that way. He thought he was keeping the peace, not realizing that his neutrality was choosing a side. Every July, Helen hosts the family reunion at their place in Maplewood. It's a massive production. 50-some relatives descending on their 5-acre property for a weekend of forced smiles and potato salad. Helen spends weeks preparing, calling everyone multiple times to remind them to bring their assigned dishes. updating her color-coordinated spreadsheets, arranging the photos from past reunions just so. She loves showing off Lauren's twins, Brandon and Madison. 11 years old now, both honor students, both athletic stars. Brandon plays 3 instruments and speaks Mandarin. Madison has already been scouted by Olympic gymnastics coaches. Helen can recite their achievements like a rehearsed speech, pulling out her phone to show videos of their performances to anyone who'll stand still long enough. Ask her about Emma? Her smile goes tight. Oh, she's fine. Still drawing her little pictures. As if my daughter's art award from the state competition meant nothing. As if the story she wrote that was published in the children's literary magazine was just scribbles. As if Emma's teacher calling her gifted was just politeness. This year, Emma spent 2 weeks making friendship bracelets for every single cousin who'd be at the reunion. She learned the patterns from YouTube videos, pausing and rewinding until she got each knot perfect. She used their favorite colors, remembered from the previous year. She even made special ones for Brandon and Madison with glow-in-the-dark thread because she remembered they liked astronomy. The night before the reunion, she found a special braiding pattern in one of my old magazines, something called a waterfall crown braid. She begged me to try it on her hair. We sat in the kitchen for 2 hours, her perched on her little purple stool, holding perfectly still while I sectioned and wove and pinned. My fingers cramped and my back ached, but she was so excited, checking the mirror every few minutes, gasping at how it was turning out. "Do you think Aunt Lauren will say it's pretty?" she asked, her voice so hopeful it made my chest tight. My stomach turned to lead. Lauren had never said a kind word about Emma in 8 years, but looking at my daughter's shining eyes, I couldn't bear to dim that hope. "Everyone will notice how beautiful you look, sweetheart," I said carefully. "But remember what we talked about. If anyone does something that makes you uncomfortable, you come find me right away. No matter what I'm doing, you come get me." She nodded solemnly, the way she did when I explained important things. "I will, Mama. But I think it's going to be fun. Brandon promised to show me his telescope. He says if we stay up late enough, we might see Jupiter's moons. That's the thing about children. They believe in goodness long after adults have learned better. They forgive 70 times 7 and then 7 more. They offer their hearts like gifts, even to people who've proven they don't deserve them. I wanted to preserve that innocence, that faith in family, even as every instinct screamed warnings. Saturday morning came bright and humid. Emma was up before dawn, too excited to sleep. She arranged and rearranged the friendship bracelets in her special box, practiced her smile in the mirror, changed her dress 3 times before settling on the yellow sundress with tiny daisies that she said matched her hair. She bounced through breakfast, barely touching her scrambled eggs, chattering about everything she wanted to do at the reunion. She wanted to play badminton with the cousins, help Grandpa at the grill, show Madison the new drawing technique she'd learned. For those 40 minutes in the car, I let her joy wash over me. I turned up her favorite playlist and we sang along to every song, windows down, her carefully braided hair somehow staying perfect despite the wind. The house looked exactly as it had my whole childhood, frozen in time like a museum of our dysfunction. White colonial with black shutters that needed painting, the same faded blue trim my mother had chosen in 1995. The rusty swing set still stood in the side yard, though no one had played on it in a decade. Cars already packed the driveway and lined the street. Helen's banner stretched across the porch in professional printed glory, Sullivan Family Reunion, 2025, blessed and grateful. Robert stood at his station behind the massive grill he'd bought last summer. The one Helen complained cost more than her first car. He wore his faded Marine's cap from Vietnam, the one he only brought out for special occasions. When he saw Emma running toward him, his whole face transformed, years falling away from his features. "There's my little artist," he said, lifting her up despite his bad back, spinning her once before setting her down. "Good Lord, look at your hair. Your mother did this?" Emma spun in a circle to show him every angle. "It took 2 whole hours, Grandpa. She had to watch 3 YouTube videos to figure out the waterfall part. Do you like it?" "Like it?" He knelt down to her level, his knees creaking. "You look like you stepped out of a fairy tale. Like a real princess." "That's what Mama said too," Emma beamed, then leaned in conspiratorially. "I made you a special bracelet. It has navy colors because you were in the Marines." Robert's eyes misted. "Marine colors, sweetheart. Navy is the boats." But he held out his wrist immediately for her to tie it on. and I saw him discreetly wipe his eyes when she turned to wave at arriving cousins. Helen emerged from the kitchen like she was making a stage entrance, wearing her new apron that said Reunion Queen in glittery letters. She surveyed the arrivals, checking her mental list, her mouth pursing when she saw me. "Rebecca, you're late," she announced, loud enough for several relatives to hear. I specifically said noon sharp. "It's 12:10. Traffic was heavy, Mom." Planning ahead avoids these issues. Although, she added with practiced sweetness, Lauren texted that she's running behind. Poor Brandon had his tournament this morning. They took second place in the state semi-finals. Of course Lauren would be late. Of course she'd have an excuse that Helen would not only accept, but turn into another opportunity to brag about the twins' accomplishments. I'd been hearing this song my whole life. Emma had already disappeared into the backyard, her box of bracelets clutched in her hands. I watched through the window as she distributed them to cousins, their faces lighting up as she explained how she'd chosen their specific colours. Even the teenage cousins who usually stayed glued to their phones accepted them with genuine smiles. My Aunt Catherine, Mom's older sister by 5 years, appeared at my elbow with 2 glasses of lemonade. She was the one sane relative in this circus, a retired teacher who'd never married and never apologised for it. "Same circus, different year," she said quietly, handing me a glass. "Exactly," I said, grateful for someone who saw through the performance. "How's Emma handling the divorce, really? I mean, not the version Helen tells everyone." "She's doing better. The counselor says she's processing well, but she still asks sometimes if Daddy might move back." Catherine squeezed my arm. "You're doing right by her. That's what matters." Inside, Helen had arranged the food table like she was preparing for a Southern Living photo shoot. Cut crystal bowls that only emerged for reunions, serving spoons placed at precise angles. Little tent cards identifying each dish in her perfect penmanship. She was already launching into her prepared speech about Brandon's latest science fair victory to my cousin Janet, who looked glazed with boredom. "The judges said they'd never seen such advanced work from a 6th grader, Helen gushed. "And Madison? Well, the gymnastics scout from Michigan State said she's never seen such natural flexibility. Of course, Lauren's been driving them to practices since they were 4. I tuned out, watching Emma through the window. She was teaching the younger cousins some kind of clapping game, her braid swinging as she moved, catching the sunlight like spun gold. She looked so happy, so confident, so secure in her place in the world. I should have been watching the door instead. At 1:30, the front door opened like a theatre curtain, and Lauren swept in as if the entire reunion had been waiting for her arrival. She wore a white designer sundress that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Her hair freshly highlighted with those subtle baby lights that look natural but cost $300. Diamond studs caught the light at her ears, the ones she'd bought herself for her birthday because, as she'd posted on social media, sometimes you have to be your own fairy godmother. Her husband Thomas trailed behind her like a beaten dog, carrying a bakery box that proclaimed it came from the French patisserie that required reservations just to shop there. Thomas always looked like he was apologizing for existing, shoulders perpetually hunched, speaking only when directly addressed. I'd watched him shrink year by year since their wedding, Lauren's constant criticism wearing him down like water on stone. "Rebecca," Lauren said, her smile sharp as broken glass. She looked me up and down with the kind of assessment that was meant to find flaws. "Cute dress. Target? They really are stepping up their clearance rack game these days." "Good to see you too, Lauren," I said evenly, refusing to take the bait. Thomas gave me an awkward wave, not quite meeting my eyes. He'd learned long ago that showing me any friendliness would earn him an interrogation later. Helen materialized instantly, hands fluttering toward the bakery box like it contained holy relics. "Oh, Lauren, you didn't have to bring dessert. But from Patisserie Lumière, you always think of everything." "Well, I know how much work you put into these reunions." "Mom," Lauren said, her voice dripping false sweetness, "I wanted to contribute something special. It's a croquembouche. The chef trained in Paris." "How thoughtful," I said flatly, knowing this performance wasn't for Helen. It was Lauren's way of establishing superiority, of making sure everyone knew she could afford things others couldn't, even though I knew from Thomas's exhausted expression that they probably couldn't afford it either. I tried to refocus on Aunt Catherine's story about her recent trip to Ireland, but movement caught my eye. Emma came running in from the backyard, her face flushed with excitement and exertion, little wisps of hair escaping from the braid to frame her face. "Mama, can I go upstairs?" she asked breathlessly. "Brandon says he has the new gaming system, the one that just came out. He wants to show us this game where you can build entire worlds." Before I could answer, Lauren's voice cut through the air like a blade. "Oh yes, Brandon just got the latest PlayStation. It cost a fortune, but he earned it with his straight A's. All the kids should see it. Madison's up there too, aren't you, sweetheart?" Her eyes lingered on Emma's elaborate braid, tracking from the crown of her head down to where it fell past her waist. Something flickered in her expression, dark and calculating. The look I remembered from childhood when she was about to do something cruel but wanted to make sure she wouldn't get caught. "Can I, Mama?" Emma asked hopefully, bouncing slightly on her toes. Every instinct in my body screamed no. My gut clenched with the same feeling I'd had before an ambush in Afghanistan. That prickle of wrongness that had saved lives. But all around me were relatives watching, waiting to see if I'd be the overprotective mother again. The one who didn't trust family, who made everything difficult. Helen was already frowning, ready to launch into her speech about how I was damaging Emma by being too controlling. Cousin Janet was watching with that pitying look that said poor Rebecca, still so paranoid from the military. Even Catherine seemed to be waiting to see what I'd do. "Sure, sweetheart," I heard myself say, the words like ash in my mouth. "Have fun, but remember what we talked about." Emma nodded quickly, then turned to Lauren. "Aunt Lauren, I made you a bracelet. It's purple because I remembered that's your favorite color." Lauren's smile was razor thin as she accepted the bracelet, not even looking at it before shoving it in her pocket. "How?" "Crafty." Emma didn't catch the dismissive tone. She was already skipping toward the stairs, her braid swinging behind her like a pendulum catching the light from the old chandelier. Lauren's gaze followed her with an intensity that made my skin crawl. "I should check on the kids," Lauren announced suddenly. "Make sure Brandon isn't being too rough with the younger ones. You know how boys can be." She headed for the stairs, and I set down my glass so hard lemonade sloshed over the rim. "Where are you going?" Catherine asked. "Just want to make sure Emma's okay," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. Helen materialized at my elbow like smoke. "Rebecca, for heaven's sake. She's with her cousins. You can't hover over that child every second. You'll turn her into a nervous wreck." "I'm not hovering, "You're being ridiculous as usual," Helen cut me off. "This is exactly why Emma has social anxiety. You project your own issues onto her." "Emma doesn't have social anxiety," I said through gritted teeth. "She's actually very ladies," Robert interrupted, appearing with a plate of grilled corn. "Food's ready if anyone's hungry." The distraction worked. Helen bustled off to supervise the food table, making sure everyone served themselves in what she considered the proper order. But I kept my eyes on the ceiling, listening for sounds from upstairs. For a few minutes, I heard normal kid noises. Brandon's voice explaining something about the game, Madison laughing, Emma asking questions. Then it got quieter. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that happens when children are trying not to be heard. Catherine touched my arm again, and this time her face was serious. "Rebecca, I need to tell you something. I saw Lauren at Sally's beauty supply yesterday. She was buying professional hair scissors. The expensive kind. When I asked about it, she said she was going to start cutting Thomas's hair at home to save money. My blood turned to ice water. She bought scissors yesterday? The really sharp ones. And she was also looking at electric clippers. But Sally talked her out of it, said they were too complicated for beginners. But here's the strange part. She brought that expensive cake today. Why save money on haircuts but splurge on a $300 dessert? The pieces clicked together in my mind like a weapon being assembled. The way Lauren had stared at Emma's braid. The scissors. The insistence that all the kids go upstairs. The calculated timing. "Oh God," I breathed. I was already moving toward the stairs when I heard it. A sound that stopped my heart. A muffled scream cut short as if someone had covered a mouth. Then another sound, lower, broken. Sobbing. Emma sobbing. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my feet pounding on the old wood. The hallway stretched before me, 4 doors all closed. From behind the door to Brandon's room came the sound of the video game, explosions and music. But that wasn't where my daughter was. The bathroom door was closed, but I could hear sounds from inside. Whimpering. Shuffling. And Lauren's voice, low and mean. "Stop being such a baby. It's just hair." "Please." Emma's voice was tiny, terrified. Please, Aunt Lauren, don't. I want my mommy. Your mommy isn't here, Lauren said. And even if she was, she'd agree with me. You look ridiculous with all that hair. Like you're showing off. I grabbed the doorknob. Locked. Emma! My voice came out sharp, military command voice. Open this door right now. There was a scramble inside, whispers, then Emma's broken voice. I can't. She won't let me. I pounded on the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Lauren, open this goddamn door right now or I'll break it down. Such language, Lauren called out, and I could hear the smirk in her voice. And you wonder where Emma gets her dramatic tendencies. Behind me, footsteps on the stairs. Helen's voice shrill with indignation. Rebecca, what on earth are you doing? You're disturbing everyone. Your daughter has my daughter locked in the bathroom, I said, not turning around. Don't be ridiculous. They're probably just playing dress-up. Mama! Emma's scream cut through everything. Mama, help me! That was it. I stepped back and kicked the door right next to the handle. The old wood splintered, the lock tearing free from the frame. The door flew open and crashed against the wall. What I saw made my vision go red at the edges. Emma was on the floor, the twins holding her arms. Though they let go the second the door opened. A towel was wrapped around her head, but golden hair was everywhere. On the counter, on the floor, scattered like fallen wheat after a harvest. Long strands that had taken 4 years to grow, cut into chunks and pieces. Lauren stood there with the scissors in one hand, her phone in the other, recording. The scissors were the expensive kind, professional shears that could cut through thick hair like butter. And she'd used them to destroy my daughter's crown. Oh, stop being so dramatic, Lauren said, not even lowering the phone. It's just hair. It grows back. I couldn't see Emma's head fully, not with the towel, but I could see enough. One side was cut down to her scalp, uneven and choppy. The braid I'd spent 2 hours creating that morning lay on the floor in pieces, like a dismembered rope. Emma looked up at me and her face broke me. Tears and snot streaming down, eyes swollen nearly shut from crying, her whole body shaking with the kind of sobs that come from the deepest betrayal. She said it would be funny, Emma whispered. She said everyone would laugh. She made Brandon and Madison hold me down. The twins had backed against the wall, both pale. Brandon looked sick. Madison was crying silently. They were 11, old enough to know this was wrong, but not brave enough to stand up to their mother. I stepped forward, and Lauren actually had the audacity to keep recording. This is going to get so many views, she said. Wait until you see the comments. Everyone agrees she looked ridiculous with all that hair, like she was trying to be special. I reached for Emma, pulling her against me, feeling her whole body convulse with sobs. The towel slipped, and I saw the full damage. Her beautiful hair was gone. Cut down to nothing in some places, longer chunks in others, like someone had taken a lawnmower to a flower garden. You assaulted her, I said, my voice deadly quiet. You held down an 8-year-old child and assaulted her. Lauren laughed. Actually laughed. Assault? It's a haircut. God, the military really did make you paranoid. No wonder Michael left you. Behind us, a crowd had gathered. Helen pushed through, took one look and waved her hand dismissively. Oh, for heaven's sake. It's just hair. All this screaming over nothing. Lauren was trying to help. Emma's hair was too long anyway. It was impractical. Help? I stood, lifting Emma with me. She held down my daughter and shaved her head while she screamed for help. You're overreacting as usual, Helen said. This is why we can never have nice family gatherings. You always have to make everything about you. Robert appeared, his face going white when he saw Emma. Dear God. Lauren, what have you done? Oh, not you too, Dad, Lauren said, finally lowering her phone. It's just a prank. Everyone does makeover videos. This is going to go viral. You recorded it? Catherine's voice from the doorway, horrified. Of course I did. That's the whole point. Watch. Lauren pulled up the video on her phone and Emma's screams filled the hallway. In the video, you could see everything. The twins holding Emma's arms. Emma struggling, begging, please, Aunt Lauren, please don't cut my hair. I want my mama. Lauren laughing as she cut, saying this is what happens when little girls think they're princesses. Several relatives gasped. Cousin Janet covered her mouth. But Helen just crossed her arms. You're all being ridiculous. Hair grows back. Rebecca's acting like Lauren murdered someone. She assaulted a child, I said slowly, clearly. She held her down, terrorized her, and cut off her hair while she begged her to stop. That's assault. That's abuse. Abuse, Lauren scoffed. Please, if anyone's abusive, it's you. dragging Emma to who knows how many bases, making her change schools, putting your career before her stability. You recorded yourself assaulting my child, I said. You recorded evidence of a crime. For the first time, Lauren's smirk faltered slightly. Crime, don't be. It's assault on a minor, Catherine said quietly. I taught for 30 years. What you did is literally assault on a minor. And you filmed it. The hallway was silent except for Emma's continued sobs against my chest. I could feel her tears soaking through my shirt, her small body trembling like a leaf in a storm. We're leaving, I said. And Lauren, I suggest you save that video. The police will want to see it. Police? Helen's voice went up an octave. You are not calling the police on your sister over a haircut. Watch me, I said. You've always been jealous. Lauren spat, her mask finally cracking. Jealous that Mom loves me more. Jealous that I'm prettier. And now you're jealous that my kids are better than yours. So you're trying to make me look bad. Your kids, I said, looking at Brandon and Madison still pressed against the wall, are going to need therapy after what you just made them do. Don't you dare talk about my children. You mean the children you just turned into accomplices? I asked. The children you just taught that it's okay to hold someone down while they're being hurt? Those children? Thomas appeared in the doorway, taking in the scene. His face went from confused to horrified as he saw Emma's butchered hair on the floor. Lauren, he said weakly. What did you do? Oh, grow a spine, Thomas, she snapped. I gave the kid a haircut. Everyone's acting like I committed murder. I pushed past them all, carrying Emma, who had her face buried in my neck. Behind me, I heard Helen's voice. Rebecca, if you leave now, don't bother coming back. You're no longer welcome at family gatherings. I stopped at the top of the stairs and turned back. Good. I don't want my daughter anywhere near people who would hurt her and call it love. You always were too sensitive, Helen said. No wonder Emma's such a crybaby. That's when Robert finally spoke up, his voice stronger than I'd heard it in years. Helen, that's enough. What Lauren did was wrong. Dead wrong. And you know it. Robert, don't you dare take her side. I'm taking the side of an 8-year-old child who was just attacked, he said. Rebecca, take Emma home. Take care of her. Lauren, you and I need to talk. We don't need to talk about anything, Lauren said. Everyone's being ridiculous. It's hair. It's just hair. But as I carried Emma down the stairs, I heard Robert say quietly, No, Lauren. It's assault. And you filmed it. You filmed yourself assaulting a child. The last thing I heard before the front door closed behind us was Lauren's voice, high and disbelieving. You're all crazy. It was just a joke. Wait until the internet sees this. They'll all think it's hilarious. But she was wrong. The internet would not think it was hilarious. The internet would destroy her. But that would come later. Right now, all that mattered was Emma, sobbing in my arms, her beautiful hair gone. Her trust in family shattered like glass. In the car, I buckled Emma into her booster seat and knelt beside her. The towel had fallen away completely now, and I could see the full extent of the damage. Her scalp was visible in huge patches. Some areas had an inch or two of choppy hair left. Others were nearly bald. It looked like someone had taken a machete to a wheat field. Mama, she whispered. Why did she do it? I made her a bracelet. I used her favorite color. I had no answer that would make sense to an 8-year-old. How do you explain cruelty to someone who's never felt it in their heart? How do you explain jealousy so poisonous it would target a child? Some people are broken inside, baby, I said finally. And they try to break other people so they won't be alone. But you're not broken. You're beautiful. With or without your hair. The kids at school will laugh at me, she sobbed. They'll call me names. Then we'll deal with that together, I promised. Every step of the way. The drive home was silent except for Emma's occasional hiccuping sobs. I watched her in the rearview mirror, curled into herself, one hand reaching up occasionally to touch her shorn head, then pulling back like it burned. As soon as we got home, I called James Morrison. He'd been JAG in the army, now in private practice. We'd served together in Afghanistan. He answered on the second ring. Rebecca? Good to hear from you. How's civilian life? James, I need your help. Legal help. His tone immediately shifted to professional. What happened? I explained everything. The planned haircut, the video, the assault. Emma was on the couch, curled under her favorite blanket with her stuffed elephant still trembling. That's assault on a minor, Rebecca. Clear cut. With video evidence, the DA will take this case in a heartbeat. My family will disown me, I said quietly. Your family held down your daughter while she was attacked, he replied. They already disowned you. Now it's about protecting Emma and making sure this never happens again. File the police report tonight. Document everything. Take photos of Emma's head. Get that video from Lauren if you can. Though if she posted it online, that's even better for evidence. After we hung up, I sat next to Emma with my phone. Sweetheart, I need to take pictures of your hair. Not to show anyone except the police so they can help us. Is that okay? She nodded mutely. I took photos from every angle, my heart breaking with each click. When I was done, she looked up at me. Am I still pretty, Mama? I pulled her into my arms. You are the most beautiful girl in the world. Hair or no hair? Nothing can change that. My phone buzzed. Lauren had posted the video in the family Facebook group. The caption read, Emma's makeover from Rapunzel to reality. Kids are so dramatic. The comments were already flooding in. Most were horrified. Cousin Janet, this is disturbing. Take this down. Aunt Catherine, I'm calling CPS. But there were others, Helen's friends mostly laughing. Kids today are too sensitive. It's just hair. Great parenting, Lauren. Teaching her not to be vain. I screenshot everything. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I left the family group and blocked them all. Michael called an hour later. Emma had texted him from her tablet, a simple message. Daddy, Aunt Lauren cut all my hair off and I'm scared. What the hell happened? He demanded. I explained, and the silence on his end stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. I'm booking a flight, he finally said. I'll be there in the morning. Michael. No, Rebecca. This isn't about us. This is about Emma. I should have been there. I should have protected her. You couldn't have known. I knew what your family was like, he said quietly. I should have insisted we skip the reunion. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. She kept reaching up to touch her head, then crying anew when she felt the stubble and bare patches. I sat with her, reading her favorite books, singing the songs she liked, anything to distract her from the trauma. Around midnight, she finally asked the question I'd been dreading. Mama, why didn't Grandpa help me? He was downstairs. If I could hear the TV, he could hear me screaming. I didn't have a good answer. Sometimes adults are afraid too, baby. Afraid of conflict. Afraid of choosing sides. But that doesn't make it right. You would have saved me, she said with certainty. If you had known, you would have saved me. Always, I promised. I will always save you. She fell asleep against me, her breathing finally evening out. But she woke twice with nightmares, screaming about scissors and laughter and being held down. The next morning, Michael arrived on the first flight from Portland. When Emma saw him at the door, she ran into his arms and burst into fresh tears. He held her for a long time, his face tight with controlled rage. Let me see, he said gently. Emma slowly pulled off the soft hat I'd found for her. Michael's jaw clenched so hard I could hear his teeth grinding. We're going to fix this, he told her. And the people who did this are going to face consequences. We drove to the police station together. A united front for the first time in years. The officer who took our report was a woman with kind eyes who knelt down to Emma's level. You're very brave for coming here, she told Emma. What happened to you was wrong, and we're going to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. She watched the video with an increasingly grim expression. This is clear assault, she said. We'll be filing charges. The video is actually helpful. It shows the child was restrained and clearly distressed. The perpetrator can't claim it was consensual or playful. Emma squeezed my hand. Will Aunt Lauren go to jail? That's for a judge to decide, the officer said gently. But she's going to have to answer for what she did. As we left the station, my phone was exploding with messages. The video had somehow leaked beyond the family group. Someone had shared it on Twitter with the caption, Woman assaults 8-year-old niece, films it for laughs. It had 20,000 retweets in 3 hours. The comments were a tsunami of rage. People had found Lauren's Instagram, her LinkedIn, her business pages. Her marketing company's page was flooded with 1-star reviews. Someone had found where Brandon went to school and was organizing a call campaign to the principal about what Lauren had made him do. Helen called, screaming, You've destroyed your sister's life. Her clients are dropping her. She's getting death threats. How could you do this to family? I didn't do anything, I said calmly. Lauren posted that video herself. She's facing the consequences of her own actions. It was just hair, Helen shrieked. You're ruining her life over hair. She ruined her own life when she assaulted a child, I said and hung up. Thomas called next, his voice shaking. Rebecca, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know she was planning this. I've taken the kids and we're staying at my mother's. I can't. I can't be married to someone who would do this. You're leaving her? My son held down his cousin while she screamed, he said, his voice breaking. My daughter helped. They're both traumatized. They didn't want to do it, but Lauren threatened to ground them for the summer if they didn't help. What kind of mother does that? Over the next few days, the story exploded. Local news picked it up. Then national news. The headline, Army Major's daughter assaulted at family reunion, was trending. Lauren tried to do damage control, posting a non-apology about jokes being taken out of context and sensitive snowflakes ruining America. It only made things worse. Her remaining clients fired her. The marketing world blacklisted her. Someone leaked that she'd been fired from her previous job for falsifying expenses, not laid off like she'd claimed. Her carefully constructed image crumbled in real time. But I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on Emma, who wouldn't leave the house without a hat. Who cried when she saw herself in mirrors? Who had nightmares about being held down? Her best friend Lily came over the third day. Sweet Lily took one look at Emma's patchy head and said, "You're still the prettiest girl in our class." Then she turned to her mother. "Mom, I want to cut my hair too." "So Emma won't be alone." "Lily, you don't have to—" I started. "Yes, I do," Lily said firmly. "That's what best friends do." The next day, Lily showed up with her head shaved into a pixie cut. She and Emma held hands and cried together, but they were healing tears. The court date came faster than expected. The DA had fast-tracked it due to the media attention and the clear video evidence. Lauren showed up in a conservative suit, trying to look like a respectable suburban mom. The facade cracked when she saw Emma. Emma had chosen not to wear a hat that day. She wanted the judge to see what had been done to her. Her hair had started growing back in patches, making the damage even more visible. She looked so small in the witness chair, but her voice was clear when she spoke. "She laughed while she did it," Emma told the judge. "She said I needed to learn I wasn't special. She made my cousins hold my arms even though I begged them not to. I just wanted to show them my friendship bracelets." The judge watched the video with a stone face. When it ended, she looked at Lauren. "Miss Sullivan, do you have anything to say for yourself?" Lauren stood, and I could see she still didn't get it. "Your Honor, this has been blown completely out of proportion. It was a haircut. Yes, I should have asked permission first, but calling it assault is ridiculous. My sister has poisoned Emma against me, made her believe she's traumatized when really—" "Miss Sullivan," the judge interrupted. "I've watched a video of you forcibly restraining and shearing a child while she begged you to stop. The child was clearly in distress. You laughed while doing it. You filmed it for entertainment. This isn't a haircut. It's assault." Lauren's lawyer tried to argue for leniency. First offense, pillar of the community, dedicated mother. The judge wasn't having it. "The defendant shows no remorse," the judge said. "She still maintains she did nothing wrong. This is particularly concerning given that she involved her own children in the assault. I'm sentencing Miss Sullivan to 200 hours of community service, specifically at a children's advocacy center, where she might learn empathy. Mandatory counseling for a minimum of 1 year. A $5,000 fine payable to a children's trauma charity. And a restraining order preventing any contact with the victim for 5 years. Lauren's jaw dropped. 5 years? She's my niece. What about family gatherings? Then the family will have to choose who to invite, the judge said coldly. You are not to come within 500 feet of this child. You are not to contact her directly or indirectly. You are not to post about her on social media. Any violation will result in immediate jail time. As we left the courthouse, Helen was waiting on the steps. I hope you're happy, she spat. You've destroyed this family. Robert was behind her, and for once he spoke up. No, Helen. Lauren destroyed this family, and you helped by enabling her all these years. How dare you? I'm done, Robert said quietly. Done pretending this is normal. Done staying quiet to keep the peace. Rebecca, I'm sorry. I should have protected Emma. I heard her screaming and I convinced myself it couldn't be that bad. I was a coward. Emma looked up at him, her face unreadable. Then she said quietly, You were scared of them too, weren't you, Grandpa? Robert's eyes filled with tears. Yes, sweetheart. I was, but that's no excuse. I should have been brave like your mom. Over the next months, life slowly found a new rhythm. Emma started therapy, working through the trauma with a specialist in childhood PTSD. Her hair grew back slowly, and she decided she wanted to keep it short. I don't want long hair anymore, she told me one day. It reminds me of before. Then short it is, I said. Your hair, your choice. Always. Lily kept her hair short too, in solidarity. Other girls in their class joined them, and suddenly Emma wasn't the girl who got her head shaved. She was the girl who started a trend. The school implemented new anti-bullying protocols after learning what happened. Emma spoke at an assembly about consent and bodily autonomy, her voice growing stronger with each word. "Nobody has the right to touch you without permission," she told the gathered students. "Not even family. Especially not family if they're trying to hurt you. And if someone does hurt you, tell someone. Keep telling until someone helps." The applause was thunderous. My daughter, my brave, resilient daughter, had turned her trauma into purpose. Michael stayed in town for a month, working remotely. We weren't getting back together, but we were better co-parents. United in protecting Emma, supporting her healing. Helen never apologized. She sent cards on holidays, always addressed only to Emma, always with passive-aggressive messages. "Hope you're happy now that the family is broken. Your mother always was too sensitive. Maybe someday you'll understand forgiveness." I threw them all away without showing Emma. Lauren's life continued to implode. The restraining order made her unemployable in marketing. The video followed her everywhere online. Thomas divorced her and got full custody of the twins, who were in therapy to deal with what their mother had made them do. Last I heard, she was living with Helen, the two of them feeding each other's poison and blame. But Robert stayed in touch. He came to Emma's school events, sent her art supplies, respected the boundaries we set. He was earning back trust slowly, the way trust should be earned, through consistent actions over time. One evening, about 6 months after the assault, Emma was drawing at the kitchen table. She'd been working on something for hours, completely absorbed. When she finally showed me, I had to sit down. It was a self-portrait. Emma with her short hair, standing tall, surrounded by light. At the bottom she'd written, "I am not my hair. I am not what happened to me. I am brave. I am loved. I am enough. It's for my therapist," she said, "but also for me, to remember." I pulled her into my arms, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling the soft fuzz of her hair against my cheek. "You are the strongest person I know," I told her. "No, Mama," she said, pulling back to look at me. "We're the strongest people we know, because we have each other." A year later, at Emma's school's anti-bullying week, she stood in front of the entire district's elementary schools, a microphone in her small hands. Her hair had grown into a deliberate chosen pixie cut. She looked like a warrior. "My name is Emma Sullivan," she said clearly, "and I want to tell you about the day I learned that family isn't always safe. But I also want to tell you about the day I learned that speaking up is the bravest thing you can do." She told her story simply, honestly, without the graphic details, but with the emotional truth. The audience, children, parents, teachers, was silent, hanging on every word. Some people said I was being dramatic, that it was just hair. But it wasn't just hair. It was someone bigger and stronger holding me down and hurting me while I begged them to stop. It was people who were supposed to love me choosing to hurt me instead. And that's never okay. Not even if they're family. Especially if they're family. Because family should be the people who protect you most. When she finished, the standing ovation lasted 5 full minutes. Parents were crying. Teachers were crying. I was crying. Afterward, a woman approached me with her daughter, who looked about Emma's age. "My daughter was assaulted by her uncle last year," she said quietly. "The family said to keep quiet, not to make waves. But after hearing Emma today, we're going to the police tomorrow. This happened again and again." Emma's story, her bravery in telling it, gave other children permission to speak their truth. The district implemented Emma's rules, a protocol for responding to family abuse that prioritized the child's safety over family reputation. Michael flew in for the presentation. As we watched Emma sign autographs for younger kids who looked at her like a hero, he said quietly, "She got that strength from you." "She got it from herself," I corrected. "I just made sure nobody took it away." 2 years have passed now. Emma is 10, thriving, confident. Her hair is still short by choice. She styles it different ways, sometimes spiky, sometimes with little butterfly clips, always uniquely hers. She still has nightmares occasionally, still flinches sometimes when people move too quickly near her head. The trauma doesn't just disappear, but she's learned to carry it without letting it carry her away. She volunteers at the Children's Advocacy Center, reading to younger kids who've experienced trauma. She tells them, in words they can understand, that bad things sometimes happen to good people. But that doesn't make them bad. that speaking up is brave, that they deserve to be safe. Lauren tried to contact her once through a fake social media account, saying Emma should forgive her for the sake of family. Emma reported it to the police herself calmly and clearly. Lauren got 30 days in jail for violating the restraining order. She hasn't tried again. Helen still sends her poison through flying monkeys, relatives who think they're helping by passing along messages. Your grandmother misses you. Your aunt is sorry. Family should forgive. But Emma has learned what I learned long ago: family isn't blood. Family is choice. Family is the people who stand up for you when you're on the floor. Family is Lily, who shaved her head in solidarity. Family is Michael, who flew across the country to hold her while she cried. Family is James, who made sure justice was served. Family is the therapist who helped her heal. Family is the teacher who made sure no one teased her when she came back to school. And family is me, her mother, who will never stop fighting for her safety, her dignity, her right to exist in the world unharmed. Robert still visits. He's earned his place in Emma's life through consistent respect for boundaries, genuine remorse, and the courage to finally stand up to Helen. Their relationship is different now. Not the blind trust of before, but something more conscious, more chosen. Last week, he brought Emma a gift, a beautiful leather journal with her initials embossed on the cover. "For your stories," he said, "the ones you tell and the ones you're living." Emma hugged him, the first real hug she'd given him since that day. "Grandpa," she said, "I forgive you for being scared. I get scared too sometimes. But you can't be scared next time someone needs help, okay?" "I promise," he said, tears streaming down his face. "I will never be that coward again." And I believe him, because Emma taught us all something that day in the bathroom, in the courtroom, in every speech she's given since courage isn't the absence of fear. It's speaking the truth even when your voice shakes. It's standing up even when you're small. It's refusing to be silent when silence would be easier. My daughter was 8 years old when her aunt assaulted her, filmed it and laughed. She's 10 now, and she's turned that trauma into transformation. Not just for herself, but for every child who's heard her story and found their own voice. That's the revenge that matters. Not destroying the people who hurt you, but building something so strong, so bright, that their darkness becomes irrelevant. Lauren thought she was cutting Emma down to size that day. Instead, she revealed Emma's true size: enormous, boundless, unconquerable. My daughter doesn't have the long golden hair she once treasured, but she has something worth so much more: the knowledge that she survived, she spoke up, and she helped others do the same. That's her crown now, and no one can ever cut it off.